Here are the top 5 Tai Chi moves in Shang-Chi. Welcome, it's Coach Jan, and I just saw Shang-Chi yesterday. It's an amazing movie. Go and check it out, the new Marvel film. Amazing action scenes, and Tai Chi is all over the movie. In particular, one move called Single Whip is all over the movie, and there's a bunch of different applications for Single Whip. We're going to do a few of them today. We're going to highlight scenes from the movie, show you the practical application for them, that you can do them in a repeatable fashion in any martial arts setting. So let's get to it. The first action scene between Shang-Chi's parents has Single Whip as an arm bar or a shoulder bar. The Single Whip is right here. Single Whip in Tai Chi looks like this, right here. The Tony Leung character, the father, pushes and the mother moves the hand out of the way and spins under. We're not gonna do the spin, I don't do spins. The first thing you're gonna do is the second you feel the push, the pressure on the arm, move to the outside of the arm. So whatever arm, whether it's the left or right, if someone's pushing with the right, you're gonna move toward their right side. You're gonna step around the pressure. That means that this person is actually gonna keep on going. They're pressing through you. So you're turning the body and allowing them to go past. That's one. But while you're allowing them to go past, you're actually gonna get wrist control. This wrist control right here is really important. This is a crane fist in Tai Chi, Kung Fu. This crane fist is also a grab. It can be used to strike or hit. You got this first grab here. So it transitions from this nice slide to this crane fist right here. Next thing is the hand right on the tricep or in the shoulder, but the tricep, you're gonna roll the tricep up to turn and rotate the arm body. As you do that, you're going to retract the back leg, your back leg. It's gonna spin around you. It's gonna spin around and go behind your opponent. So that's going to give you torque and a downward spiraling energy, and you're gonna keep doing that. You're gonna keep spinning this back leg, your outside leg, toward their back, toward their butt. And as you do that, you can even jump downward, meaning dropping your weight down as this happens, which brings their face closer and closer to the ground. If you keep doing this over and over and over again, more than likely your partner or opponent is going to lose their balance. They're going to fall into the ground. So we're not gonna do that here on the dirt, but there's a bunch of videos you can see us doing that on mats. So Autumn's gonna do it now. I'm gonna push to her. Boom. She redirects, sidesteps. Look at the control on the wrist, she has it. She's gonna bring the hand right to the shoulder or the tricep. We're gonna stay on the tricep because that's what they did in the movie. And she's gonna roll. She's gonna spin that back leg around. She's gonna keep spinning it. Keep on spinning it. Good. Going. And even more, less out, you want to really drop down. So you want to spin and push me down. So drop even more of your body weight on me as you, exactly. Do that again, the good stuff. Okay. Right into the camera. Tai Chi move number 2 is a escaping wrist hold. The moment is dramatic. It is supposed to be romantic, but the application is very, very practical. So he's got an inside wrist control because he's trying to chop his face. He stops it and holds here. This can be considered a single whip or a crane fist move. So he's holding here. The other control he has is from the outside. So her inside arm, he's got outside control of. Her outside arm, he's blocked with inside control. So what's gonna happen is she's going to spin out with her fingers leading the spin, going over my wrists and under. Notice that she breaks the hold. She breaks the hold right away. Boom. So in the film, Tony Leung's character releases his hand dramatically. It's beautiful, but that's unrealistic. Regardless, it's a very realistic escape. The second move, she spins out of, let's step right here, and spins from the inside, going inside and out and over, going against the thumb. That's another one. And then she spins out of it, boom, lets the hand go. So these are really, really important, super practical moves that you see all over grappling all the time. And one simple way to play it or to train it is this drill. You play with your partner, and essentially someone's just trying to get on top, and that's it. Now, if you like to, you can get on top and hold, and then the other person tries to escape and get on top, boom, and then hold too. Now, you don't necessarily have to go for the holds. You can just play for the top dominant position. So let's play for dominance. You want to get on top of me, I want to get on top of you. Let's go for it. Go. So oftentimes people say go against the thumb, meaning that if someone's here, you're going to go on the inside and try to break the thumb because the thumb is weaker than all the fingers combined. So that's often a theory that you hear. That's not always necessarily the case. It depends on angle, depends on maybe the pinky is holding more of the pressure or more of the structure, and you want to break that structure by going down against the pinky. That's totally viable and happens all the time. So whichever direction you go, you're spinning, trying to get on top. So you're trying to get on top of me, boom. Let's just play this. You can play this with pretty much anybody. It's a wonderful game. There is a system in Tai Chi, the push hand system, that the more of the slower drills, because push hands can be very fast as well, that has a lot of dynamism in the thinking and the feeling around manipulating this part of a grappling game. So this move is a very, very basic one. There's way more sophisticated ones as well. Tai Chi move number 3 is another single whip, but this time it's in response to a chop. Shang-Chi versus Michelle Yeoh, the training sequence. Shang-Chi chops upward, and she stops his strike with a single whip position on the wrist. Another crane fist here, and boom, right here, holds his face up. So this posture can also be called patting the high horse in Tai Chi, but patting the high horse, to make a differentiation, is a downward motion. This is an upward motion. There are upward motions in Tai Chi that have a similar mechanic, but most of them that I know pull across the body rather than out. So this is much closer to a single whip. So this variation of single whip, I like to highlight, is being done from the inside rather than the outside like number 1. So this inside version of single whip really sets up a bunch of throws. Whether the throw is here, you could be step behind and push over and throw if you wanted to. Another variation is sliding the hand up the shoulder to turn the body, stepping behind for the throw. Another one is actually just whipping the hand all the way across the body, so you slide up from the push, single whip style, and then turn and look for the throw to crank the person into the throw. And of course, this is not the best position for the throw. The ideal, if you're doing a throw, this type of throw, the one that I'm going for, is actually have a deeper hold. That being said, again, this is just one application of a move that has many different variations. Tai Chi move number 4 in Shang-Chi is one of my favorite in the entire film, and it's because of how brilliant the choreography is and how strategic it is and how much it makes sense for any martial arts. And this is a 2-part combination. It's single whip into a crank, a diagonal flying crank. And we're gonna do this right now. Shang-Chi's character pushes with his right arm. We already saw this in number 1. Sidestep, we already saw this too. Coming right for the single whip move. Boom. Pulling down. We already saw all of this. But the difference is in the thinking, the strategy of this move. This is actually a brilliant moment of choreography. When pushing down, oftentimes with this move, a person, your opponent, is going to want to come up. And when they want to come up, that's when you set up part 2, which is the crank. So from here, from this posture, when the person wants to come up, the hand comes underneath and you pull them back to where they want to go. They want to go back. That crank in and of itself is diagonal flying. Diagonal flying is an amazing throw. It's one of my favorite, most dynamic, probably the coolest throw I know how to do. This diagonal flying motion has a hip motion coming forward while the fingers are spinning upward. One hand is pinning downward. One hand counter the other hand, pushing and pulling and launching the opponent across your own body. There's a moment in the choreography where they pause. So it's important to note that difference in realism. Very few times is someone going to stop here, think about it for a fraction of a second, and then come back up. So there is that little moment that's not very realistic, but this motion is. I push down and I let go before, knowing that she's coming up. Boom, she's coming up, pull her back. So you know it's gonna happen. You set up the move. You do one move to set up your next move. That 1-2 is so important. And in Tai Chi push hands, the sport of Tai Chi push hands especially, there's a lot of combinations, 1, 2, 3, 4 combinations. And they're amazing. Setting up your opponent, pressing to create pressure, to create tension in your opponent so that they respond the way that you want them to. This is a major differentiation between what I share on this Tai Chi channel and most Tai Chi channels, Tai Chi practitioners that I've ever met. The sport of Tai Chi push hands is very strategic. The concepts of flow are all over the martial arts. They are not exclusive to Tai Chi. So I'm going to stop myself from going off on a speech about this, but this is so important to me. What we do here is always very strategic, and anything you're seeing on this top 5 is repeatable and is very strategic if you know how to put it together. And if you ever have any questions, you can just ask. Before we get to number 5, I want to talk about one moment where Michelle Yeoh takes Shang-Chi's hands and she undoes the fists and opens the hands. So this is really, really important symbolic moment, and it's really more so about moving without tension, unnecessary tension. You don't need to have your fist clenched all the time when you're fighting. Like, it makes no sense because you're less sensitive in your hands. So you really want to keep the hands soft and sensitive. So it's just really, really important to make sure that you're open to receive. There's all this symbolism here, but it's less of a move and more of a principle. That being said, when I do bare knuckle sparring, etc., you will see me like this, protecting my fingers as really, really sharply, like protecting my fingers. Because the last thing I want to do is be so open that I have loose joints, and I've damaged my fingers before in the past. That's caused some challenges. So you don't necessarily want to have your hands all the way open like this, but you definitely want to keep them protected and soft so that you can move and flow through and then explode and become tense when necessary, when it's to your advantage. Another note before we get to 5 is Dalu. Dalu is a moving push hands exercise. It's a routine. There's a bunch of them. And they train all of these wonderful techniques. So it's not technically a technique. So we're not going to show it in this video. We'll have a separate video for the Shang-Chi, Michelle Yeoh, Dalu scene that's within the fight sequence that they have, the training sequence that they have. So check that video out too, but without further ado, here's Tai Chi move number 5. The 5th and final Tai Chi move that I want to talk about in Shang-Chi, he takes the arm and he staples it across the other arm to pin it. And then he pushes her back, and she's, there's drama in the scene, everything's done in kind of a little moment by moment fashion. And that's all for the audience to be able to perceive something that they may not necessarily be used to seeing. But the concept of pinning somebody is really, really important. If you're playing wrestling, the 50-50 clinch here, I have control of the elbow and I have my own elbow on the outside of the wrist. This is a pin. So you know that if you stand up, I have the willpower here holding this shape and structure so that if I turn, I drag my opponent's body with me. This is a version of a pin. Other versions of pins, and the one that Shang-Chi is doing here, can be just a single arm on the body, and you're moving that person with their own arm. Like the tension that's going to happen the second you connect someone's limb to their own body, they want to move it. They don't necessarily want to feel constricted. So it's a really, really important thing to note that when you start to pin, there's a psychological effect that happens in the opponent. And you want to strategize around that psychological effect. Meaning that if I do it on one limb and I can move the arm, there's tension, there's shoulder locking, all this other stuff that can happen. And I'm not pushing tension against tension. The tension will start and it'll ripple. You have to be sensitive to it. You have to feel where the tension is in the body. So the second this happens, how does that person want to react? And then you push where there is no tension, where there's the least amount. You start to slide them and roll them over their own tension. The tension's in the hip, you roll them over the hip. And that's how you get the ability to have space control, to manipulate the body with these pins. So let's talk about the moment with Shang-Chi Michelle Yeoh, where he pins over, he staples the arm for the pin. He staples one arm by pinning the other arm. So he's got two things happening here. And then in the movie, he pushes her back, he pushes her straight. And it's, again, dramatized. She goes all the way back, and they have this moment of, whoa, to showcase that Shang-Chi has had a moment of realization in his training and that he's progressing as a character. He's growing. Awesome. So let's take this to the realistic level. You pin here, again, you don't just press on the body. You have to be sensitive as a practitioner to feel where the tension is. Someone may be throwing their shoulder over at you, and you may have to spin them. Someone may be pushing the hip or trying to push the arms out, and you may have to change your strategy completely and pull the body down. All of this stuff can change in a moment. But when you have this moment right here, you have a lot of options, and a lot of options that are only available to you within a fraction of a second. So you have to be able to think within a fraction of a second, to strategize within fractions of a seconds, So you're speeding up your perception, thereby slowing up time, slowing down time for yourself. And so you can see more of what's going on. Thanks for joining me, Coach Jan, for the top 5 Tai Chi moves in Shang-Chi. Go and check out Shang-Chi from Marvel Studios. It's amazing, excellent action choreography, a really important film. So check it out as soon as you can, and subscribe for all the wonderful Tai Chi perspectives that we share on here, from the sport level to the practical living level, all repeatable. If it's not repeatable, it's not competition worthy, so it's gotta be able to actually work, and not just for someone who's playing Tai Chi, but for anybody who does any martial art or just wants to live a more mindful life. Join us. Thanks so much.